So I recently got a text from one of my good friends, and he texted me out of the blue. Haven't talked to this guy in a while, but we basically grew up together. Used to be really good friends, and we kind of went our own separate paths, and like we still close to this day. But you know how guy relationships are, where you can go for a long time without talking to each other, and like link up with each other, and feels like everything's still the same. So that's kind of the relationship that I got with him. And he texted me out of the blue, and he was like, Ferris, do you ever feel alone? You know, Random question, broad question, but when he texted me that, it took me a little bit for me to respond. And I realized like why he was texting me specifically and to like what he must be going through. And it kind of just sparked the emotion in my head, which is why I wanted to make this video to here today. And I've been on personal development for a long time now, almost over a year now. And I would say I've gone through dealing with loneliness a lot, and I still do to this day. And I kind of want to set the frame for y'all and what I told him to make him realize like what it means to actually be lonely on your personal development journey. And everyone is different. So I want you to imagine this, right? And this is what I told him. I'm a college dropout. I'm 20 years old. My first year of college, I was going out to the clubs, bars, drinking 3, 4 times a week. And I would, every Friday, Saturday night, like especially in the start of college too, I had this burning anxiety in my chest, thinking like when I had no plans, when I had no motion, that's what we used to call it, when I had no motion back then, I used to have this burning anxiety in my chest. I was like, I have to go do something, bro. Like everyone else is going out and partying and drinking. Like I don't want to sit here. Like this is my college experience. I have to do something. I want to go out and do something. So I had this burning anxiety in my chest. And like the friend group I had at the time in college, I was literally like dragging them out from the dorm rooms because they just wanted to chill. Nothing wrong with that, but like they just wanted to chill in the dorm rooms. But I was like, nah, let's go outside. Let's go find something. Let's go find a party. Let's go find a frat party. My dumbass at the time didn't know that getting into a frat party as a guy is damn near impossible. So, I always had this burning anxiety in my chest. Like I had to go do something because I would literally sit in my dorm room Saturday, Friday night, and I was like, I could hear like the noises going on around me. Like I lived in a dorm room, like it was loud. There was parties going on, people talking. Like I wanted to go out and do something. I felt alone. Like I felt like I was an imposter in that situation. And fast forward, I go through one of the lowest points of my life where going down that path, just compounding path of negative effects on my body, like drinking. Luckily, I didn't get into smoking, drinking, just poisoning my body with the campus food they served us, which was really bad. And I got really overweight. And mentally was the worst I was at. Physically was the worst I was at. With my relationship with my girlfriend was the worst I was at. And I wish I could say like one singular moment, which was me blacking out at the club and getting thrown out onto the street while my girlfriend was visiting me, which was one of the worst nights of my life. And waking up the next day with her crying over me and saying like how embarrassing I was last night. I wish I could say after that night, everything just changed, but it didn't. It really didn't. And it took a little bit for me to actually realize like I was at a lowest point in my life and I had to make a change. I had to. So slowly over time, I started getting on personal development. Personal development meaning try to focus on me, trying to limit the noise outside, meaning the parties, the friends, the drinking, the just social life of college. Trying to limit that and focus solely on myself, focus on the gym, focus on eating the right foods, focus on my classes. I was always a good student at the time, but my grades started slipping off a little bit first semester. So I tried to tighten up my second semester. And I did. I'll be honest, I didn't know what the hell I was doing at the time, but like I did. I tried my best to meditate every single day, even though when my roommate walked in at like 6 p.m. on a random weekday, like he would look at me like all fucking weird. And, I was just trying to meditate because that's what I was told like online. I'd watch YouTube videos like Iman Ghazi and Hamza, and they tell me like, this is what you need to do to get on personal development is meditate, read books. That's what I did. I read Think and Grow Rich was one of the first books I read and still my favorite book to this day. And like all of these personal development activities, and I didn't really realize what I was doing at the time, which was going on self-improvement, going on personal development. And fast track to my second year of college. I got my own place. Got my own apartment. It was a 4-person apartment, but it was like I had my own individually locked bedroom. So like I had my own space like I do right now. And I was just fully going in on personal development, going into myself, and like going into the second year of college, I was starting up my first business at the time, and I was running a social media marketing agency, and that's all I spent my time doing. Every single day I would be trying to reinvest my time back into the business, working on the service for it, working on the product page, working on the landing page, and trying to make cold calls, trying to make outreach calls, and just trying my best to like sign clients and make this business model work. I had no clue what I was doing at the time, and ultimately that business failed, but it taught me so many learning lessons. But the point is, I would spend all my time in my apartment, cold calling people, meditating. Like I had a time period where I was meditating for 30 minutes, and I would literally just like go out in random places in my city. Like I remember going out at 7 a.m. On like a Tuesday morning, going out to like this river, and I thought I was the only one there. So I was like meditating for 30 minutes, and like turns out there was like a kayaking club that came to the river spot, and they were all like walking with their kayaks next to me while I was sitting down and meditating. Like it was the most awkward thing ever. And like I took a video of me meditating as well, so I can't imagine what was going through their mind. Like I felt embarrassed at the time that I was trying to meditate and record myself doing it, and they were like trying to go for their kayaking team. Like I was getting attacked by mosquitoes and shit, so I was like so uncomfortable. Nothing was working. I was like getting pissed off. So like all of this time spent by myself, and on those Friday, Saturday nights, like even though I tried to limit the distractions as much as possible compared to my first year of college, I still felt alone. When I went to sleep that night, like I still felt alone. And my girlfriend, like I'm still dating my girlfriend to this day, and like at the time, like she was still going out to parties and clubs at her college. We're long distance, right? And like her going out, like I always fall asleep. I literally could not fall asleep because I had so much anxiety. One, like she was out, not by herself, but like just out drinking. Like that just worried me as a boyfriend. And like luckily we've built a lot of trust over time. Like I have no problem with her doing that now, but she does it because she's focusing on herself as well. And the best thing is I never forced that on her. I just led by example and went through it myself, and she saw how I felt at the end of the rainbow, and she wants it for herself, so she's focusing on herself as well. So just imagine spending nights in college where I was in an apartment building with the guys I live with. Like they were partiers. They went out to, I think one of the guys I lived with was a frat brother, so he was going out to the frats. He had people over all the time, and like everything was just so live around me, and I was just trying to keep to myself in this inner circle. And like I still had that anxiety in my chest telling me like I have to go do something, just like I did in my first year. But this time it was a little bit different because I knew I couldn't. I knew like if I went down that path again, like there's no going back. Like I have to, like I'm not the type to balance out my lifestyle. Like if I commit to personal development, like I have to do it to the full. That's why I have a 4:15 a.m. wake up, where I wake up at 4:15 every single solitary day. I've been doing that consistently for months on end. Like it's so extreme, but I needed something so extreme to put me in a mood, put me in a system where I can just be locked in indefinitely. So I always had to go to the extreme if it meant that it was limiting the vices of going out drinking, going out to parties. And, it's just tough because at the time you feel like an imposter. I felt like such an imposter, which I now know what is called imposter syndrome. And that's one of the points I want to make in this video. Is imposter syndrome is feel like you are completely alone on this path that you're on, which you're really not. One of my favorite sayings amongst men on personal development is we are all alone in this together. And like one of my boys at the time going through personal development, I'd always text him that. I say, we are alone in this together. And he was alone at the time working on his business, and I was alone at the time working on my business, working on myself. And I just remember like he's going through the same shit I am. So that helped me out. And I just like everything around me in my environment, And environment has such an important role on you because it's the people you hang out with on a daily basis, not hang out with, but see. People you see on a daily basis, the things you see around you, such as the college environment. And me seeing that every single day, like, it made me feel like I was such in the wrong. It made me feel like I was wasting my life. It made me feel like a complete imposter, always alone. So I know a thing or two about being alone because every single weekend I spend alone. I vividly remember there was this one time, like, going really, really hard on personal development. There's a book that I was reading at the time called Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick David. And in that book, he includes this thing called a personal audit, which is kind of like a little practice activity where you ask yourself, like, this personal audit, a list of questions that ask you, like, real hard questions you want to answer yourself. And it gives you kind of like a psychoanalysis of where your mindset is at. So in that book, he prefaced the personal audit by saying, like, he went out to a random, I forget the exact thing, but he went out to a random location, just sitting by himself with these thoughts, asking him these questions, like being really harsh on himself. So I was like, I need to do the same thing. And at the time, like, I was really going through personal development. I was really feeling alone at the time. Like, my girlfriend, she was still going out to parties, still going out and drinking. Like, she was doing her thing, college life. All my boys back home, like, I limited my communication with them because they were doing their own thing at college, and like, I was trying to go my own separate path. So I was going against the curve, and like, at the time I just felt alone. So, I took inspiration from this book, The Personal Audit, and let me tell y'all this. I was in Richmond, Virginia at the time. I lived in Richmond, Virginia, and I drove about an hour and 30 out to these random mountains. If you're on the East Coast, you know what the Appalachian Mountains are, the mountain chain. So I went up to those mountains, and we have something called the Shenandoah Valley. I don't know if my geography is really, really messed up right now, but if it is, I apologize. I was basically in a random ass mountain valley, not valley, but like mountain. And I remember this. I drove up there with this book in hand, or no, I wrote down the questions on my phone because I didn't want to take the book with me. And I made an audio recording of, like, me answering all these questions. Think about this. Walking 30 minutes by yourself in the middle of the woods, just talking to yourself, asking yourself these questions. And like, I wish I could say that these questions like hit like me hard emotionally, but it wasn't even that. It was just the fact that I was just so alone and completely isolated from myself. And I was like, turning all my phones on airplane mode. I wasn't looking at my phone. I didn't even have service at the time either. And like, I just spent that time to myself. And like, just feeling alone in that time, it was just like, I completely felt isolated where I was at. So isolated. I felt so alone. Like, it was one of the worst feelings. And I had this conversation with one of my guys the other day. I was telling him, like, typically when you hit your lowest point, when I was in college before, like when I was about to black out, that story I just told y'all, when I was drinking every single week, doing all these negative things to my body, at the time, I had no clue that was a bad thing for me. I had no clue that I was going down a path where eventually, like, everything would just snap. Like, I would eventually, like, lead to a point where I want to change what I was doing in my life, change my course, my direction in life. I had no idea that I was going down that negative path. I thought everything was fine at the time. So what I was telling him is, like, in your lowest points in your life, you're not going to consciously realize, like, this is my lowest point until you actually take a second to reflect on it. Like, a year, like, it's been 2 years. No, it's been about a year and a half since I was living that lifestyle of going out to the clubs, parties every single weekend. And I can say without a doubt, that was one of the lowest points in my life, for sure. And at the time, I didn't know that. At the time, I didn't feel like that either. So that's why I can reflect on how I was feeling when I was lonely, back in my apartment, back in those woods, when I was completely isolated and alone. That's why I can reflect to this day, April 23rd, 2025, reflect on a year ago today and say that was some of the loneliest points of my life. And, I can't say that it just gets better. I can't say that you don't feel alone anymore because I live in my parents' house. I live by myself. I went from being on a college campus with 30,000 students. This is what I told my boy. I told him I went from being on a college campus of 30,000 plus students to living with my parents, seeing my mom, dad, 3 cats in a day. That's it. You know, I do DoorDash pretty consistently, damn near every night. So I get to have like social interaction for like a, 5 second, 10-second transaction saying, thank you for the food. Have a good meal. That's what I get to do. And like, luckily I want to spread as much positive energy as I can. So like, I always try to make sure like leave the food, like hand the food off to the customer with a smile on my face, take the food from the restaurant and always like thank them for making the meal, etc. Like I always try to do that. But the point is, like, I went from going on a college campus of 30,000 plus students to living with 2 people, my parents, which I barely talk to anymore, and just focusing on myself. And, ultimately, this leads me to the point that I made him. I told him, as a man, you're always going to deal with feeling lonely. It's never really going to go away. You just have to deal with it. And I know, like, that's not really something, like, he was trying to hear, because you're just going to feel like an imposter going down that path of personal development. And I really told him, this is something that I truly feel for the guy, because, like, he was one of my close friends, and it's disappointing, because I had a very tight-knit friend group going up through high school, very tight-knit. And all of those guys, they were hoopers, bro. They were really good hoopers. I was the only guy in there, like, I was the somewhat athlete, I'd occasionally go out to play basketball with them, and I'd occasionally have, like, my nights where I go off from, like, mid-range or three. Like, I was the guy known for, like, a mid-range shot for, like, a year period. I was pretty good with that. And these guys were actually killers. Like, everyone was playing for the high school team. I didn't play for the high school team, but everyone's playing for their high school team. And, one of the guys, like, I just saw so much potential in him. Like, truly, he has a special talent for basketball. And he's playing for his school right now, for the college he goes to. And, like I said, it would be a damn shame. It would be a damn shame, because I truly believe in all my heart, like, he could at least go G League. I know, like, I probably have no idea what I'm saying right now, saying that, but, like, that's just saying I have conviction. I have faith in him to hit, like, crazy heights with this basketball career he could have. But, he entertains partying, he entertains girls, he entertains the college life, he goes out to drink. I was the guy who got him a fake ID. Like, I know what he does, and I was the guy who did it with him from time to time. Like, I had that negative influence on him for a period of my life till I cut it out. And, like, that's why he reached out to me now, because he knew I went through that. And my hope is that he reached out to me because he's been going down a path of personal development. I really hope that for him. And that means that he can focus a lot more on basketball, because you truly need to cut out your environment, which is very difficult in college. Like, I don't really believe in balance if you really want to dominate in the space you are in right now. Like, he's doing basketball. If you want to truly dominate and hit the highest highs, you have to cut out all distractions. There's not really a way you can balance it out. There isn't. So I told him, you're going to feel like an imposter. I told him you're going to feel alone a lot of the time. And, like, naturally as men, if you feel alone, you're going to want to gravitate towards, like, and especially in a college environment where you can literally just, like, walk down the dorm hallway and go to, like, your boy's room. Like, you're naturally going to want to do that. But the point is, like, you should feel alone. The point is, you should consciously make it aware in your mind that you are alone right now, and that's okay. Make it aware in your mind that it's okay that you're alone. It's okay that you feel like you're a complete imposter, and you feel like you're wasting your college years by not going out to the clubs, not going out to socials on the weekends, but you're actually taking the time to invest back into yourself. Even though if you don't see the reward right now, I promise it's going to 10x in the future. Even though if you're reading, you're trying to read right now, going through personal development, trying to meditate like I was, doing breath work, I literally got a red light lamp where I would try to do red light therapy, meditation in the morning, I've tried everything, bro. Trust me. I've tried gratitude journaling, I've tried normal journaling, all of that. And even though when you're doing those things, like, they're good for you, you don't see the immediate return. You don't see your mindset completely turning into, like, a millionaire's mindset. I promise what you're doing right now is going to pay off in the future, and you just have to continue doing it. Continue feeling the emotions you're feeling and be okay with that. Be okay with the emotions you're feeling. You're gonna feel alone, and I for sure was. And like looking at it in retrospect, I was. I still am, but I'm okay with that because I know I'm on a mission. Because I know there's a purpose greater beyond me. I have a why, which is I want to provide a better future for my family. Which means if I gotta deal with being alone at age 20, sitting in my parents' place instead of sitting on a college campus of endless drinking and endless socials leading nowhere with people who don't really want to achieve the highest of heights, I don't want that for myself. And I made that decision. I took that risk to drop out because of that. Because I know my environment, the 5 people I surround myself with matters so much. Even if I can't physically see them, I can listen to podcasts of very successful men, and I can have an environmental effect apply on me in that sense, where I go out and DoorDash till 10, 11 p.m. at night, and all I do is just listen to podcasts of successful men who've done the things that I want to at the heights that I want to reach. And even though I barely talk to anyone in a day, except my phone, except my phone, I can surround myself with those people and they have impact on me instead of being in a college campus where, the random students I see on campus would have an impact on me because of the way they go throughout their day, the way they give into, having a good day of classes, feeling like you did something productive, going to the gym, and then giving into like a Chick-fil-A, a Cane's meal after. That's not the environment I want for myself. And like, if it means I gotta be alone, it means I gotta be alone. So, short answer, bro. Short answer. You gotta learn how to deal with it for real. You gotta learn to be okay with being alone. Because as a man, like, honestly, I'm 20 years old, but I'm only gonna assume that most of my life I'm gonna feel alone. I more than likely will probably die by myself. Not saying that in like a fuck, that's sad kind of sense, but like, I mean, what if I like, die while I'm on travel or something by myself? I know I'm gonna have a family in the future. Like that's something I'm working towards and something I think about a lot. So it's gonna happen because I'm constantly pursuing it. It's gonna happen. But like, what if I die by myself? I can't control that, and I can't think about that right now. And I would hate arguing about what ifs because they haven't happened. Like imagine putting your energy into things that haven't happened yet. You know what I mean? That's like saying like the world's gonna end and constantly thinking about it, having so much anxiety about it, like limiting yourself to take action on a daily basis, like not going to class because you think the world's gonna end. I know this is a very weird a very weird example, but hear me out. Constantly worrying about like the world's gonna end, the world's gonna end, the world's gonna end. I don't want to go to class. I don't want the world to. I want to be with my family. Like thinking about that. Again, random example. Just hear me out. And letting that, what if the world might end tomorrow. You don't know. Tomorrow's not promised, but I have hope for tomorrow. That makes me faithful. And worrying about the what if is going to get you nowhere. If I completely eliminate the what if in my life, I'm going to continuously progress, even though I might not know what happens next. All I can focus on is right now and this camera right here. That's all I can focus on right now. I can't focus on what if this video just cuts out and I lose all of the storage for it and I can't upload it. I can't worry about that happening because it hasn't happened yet. It might happen. I don't know, but it hasn't. So feeling alone, you're always going to be an imposter on your journey, and you just got to learn to deal with it, bro. You got to. And that's what I told him. So I strongly advise if you are on your personal development journey like I am and I was back then, going through what I went through, being alone, feeling alone in your apartment room, your bedroom, not having anyone to talk to, moving away from your friend group that was bad for you, and knowing that you feel like an imposter in the moment, you feel like everything's going against you, I strongly encourage you to be okay with that feeling. Be okay with it. And realize you are doing the right thing. Everything around you is going to tell you not, but you are. This video, you watching up to this point in this video, I promise this is reassurance right here. This message is reassurance that you are on the right path. And I want to see you succeed. And Like I told my boy, like we are all alone in this together. So I appreciate you watching up to this part of this video. If you don't know who I am, I make something called Gumption Talks. My name is Ferris, and my Gumption Talks are a raw sit down where I can just talk to the camera and vent and riff and go on little insights, retrospect, or reflections that I had in the past and share learning lessons that I had. And I appreciate you watching this, and I would love to see you join me on this journey. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out the rest of my content, because this is all I post. I try to be my most authentic self as I can. And hopefully I said something today that might have resonated with you and made you look at things a little bit different. So other than that, I will see y'all later. Peace.